Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to viewers from all walks of life. This is Denzamos, and you are welcome to the channel of truth, enlightenment, freedom, and the channel of breaking empath free. If you are new, on this channel I talk about narcissism and narcissistic abuse, I talk about spirituality, and I talk about personal and self-development. And in case none of that stuff resonates with you, guys, you can always give us a like, share this video with your friends, and you may subscribe if you haven't already. And for those that have always been with us, you are welcome back, and I thank you for your love and support. Now, I'm still carrying on with the entanglement series. For the most of you guys, my recent videos, you've seen the entanglement series. I'm still carrying on with the entanglement series. But on this particular day, I'm taking a break, and I'm jumping into a little bit into the spirituality, and we have got a spiritual subject to talk about today. Now, eventually, I'm going to go back to the series as always at the right time. But like I've said, guys, you guys always know me. I just follow my intuition. Whatever my intuition leads me or guides me to is whatever it is. Whatever subject my intuition tells me to do is whatever is exactly what I'm going to do. So, chosen ones, when you guys awaken, I've always mentioned in my videos, you are never going to be that same person you used to be. So a lot of that is happening because you have now finally pierced through the veil, and for the most of you, you can look behind the veil. And I've been wanting to make this video for about a month now. I think it could be about 6 months or something like that. I've been wanting to do this video because I had a very recent encounter, but I decided to follow divine guidance, and I decided to follow my intuition as to when or how I will talk about this. But this is an experience that happened actually during one of the trips I made out of town. And that experience was also concerning a demon. Now, when I'm talking about demons, I'm not talking about things that are flying around the air, or things in white dresses or something like that. For the most of us who are awakened, we can see things for what they are. So even if it's people, whether it is animals, whatever it is around you, you can actually decipher what exactly is behind whatever it is going on in your real experience, in your actual experience, or even sometimes the people you meet. You will be able now to understand things for what they are, and people for who they are. So when you awaken, guys, I'll guarantee you the very first thing that will fall out, the very first thing you'll fall out with is your ego. Your ego will be shut down and will be put to rest. And most of the cases, your higher self is going to take over. And you guys have heard me talking about in my videos that usually when you awaken, you are never going to be the same person you used to be. So everything what's happened afterwards is out of your hands. If you allow things to go the natural way, and if you release control of things, everything is going to start falling in place, and a lot of things are going to make much more sense than they used to make before your awakening. And I've also done a video recently about narc demons. And you guys, for the most of you who are new on this channel, you might go back to one of my videos, and you're going to see my video where I talked about narc demons after awakening. A lot of people who are walking around the world, a lot of people walking on this planet, they are highly possessed. Now, by what I mean by highly possessed, a lot of people, they're walking around with entities. So like I've said, guys, most of you have heard me talking about narcissism has always been on spiritual level, and mostly the narcissists have said that usually they are possessed by certain spirits, various spirits and different spirits. And that is why, for the most of the time when I'm walking around, even on my normal days, when I'm just going about my days or just doing my normal things, there's a lot of things I see along my journey. Some of them will happen in a flash of a second. Some of them may even take a couple of minutes. But a lot of things I see along my journey, believe me, guys, for the most of the people who are not awakened, they don't understand this, because a lot of these events are actually paranormal. So for the most of guys who are on the unawakened stage, if they're not awakened, they look at these things as paranormal. But for us, these are things that we know they have always existed, and they have always been in existence, and they have always been happening. It's just because that before the awakening, we have not been seeing these things the way they are. Now, I had a trip out of town a couple of weeks ago. That was about 5 or 6 weeks ago. I had a trip out of town, and I happened to jump on the train. So when I jumped on the train, all of a sudden I was carrying something with me. I was carrying bags, a couple of luggage with me. So I entered the train, and I went and stood at the opposite side of the train. So I was standing eventually. I didn't have a seat. I was standing at the opposite side of the train. Now, that train was jammed up. It was busy. It was a very busy train. There was a lot of people in the train. Now, on the other side of the train, when I looked towards me, on the opposite direction, there was this woman. This woman, the very first thing that came to my mind, that actually this woman, there was something happening beyond what the human eyes can see. Now, like I've said, most of you guys who are awakened, especially the chosen ones, these are a lot of things you're going to see. Like I've said, most of you guys have said, the chosen ones, you are the glitch in the matrix. So for the most of the times, the things that are happening around you, it is you only who can see these things. But most of the people around you, actually, they cannot decipher whatever it is going on. Even sometimes you will tell them the things and they think you're crazy. But for the chosen ones, you relate with this. For the awakened empaths, you can relate with this. Now, I looked at this woman, and all of a sudden, I could see this woman's eyes starting to roll around like this, and she started to, her mouth started to bubble like that. You know what I mean? She was like rapidly saying things that I couldn't even hear, or things that I couldn't make out exactly what she was saying, but she was very, very much irritated with my presence. She kept on looking at me and looking down, looking at me like that, and then she would look down, look at me like that, look down. This thing happened for a couple of, this whole event happened for about, it could have been like a minute, maybe even sometime less than a minute. Because all of a sudden, before I knew it, that particular person had already disappeared. Now, when I looked at the woman, her mouth started bubbling. Her eyes started running around and rotating like that, and eventually she started looking down like that. She was very, very much irritated by the sight of me. And then I noticed that actually, this woman was very uncomfortable with my presence. So what I did, I looked away from the woman and I looked the other side. Even sometimes I remember looking down on the floor, on the ground. Believe me, guys, the very moment I raised my head to look back at the direction of where the woman was standing, the woman had vanished from that position and she was already sitting on the opposite direction. So she had already vanished in a very short few minutes of time. Even I didn't know how she did it, because I was standing in front of that woman. She had already vanished and disappeared, and before I knew it, she was sitting now on the opposite direction. So what I mean by this is that she left that position where she was standing, and all of a sudden she disappeared, and she was sitting already on the opposite side of the on my right hand side at the seats. So she went and took a seat eventually. Now, for a lot of people, this thing may not actually make sense to you. You might not understand where I'm coming from. But for the awakened guys on this channel, if you're awakened and if you know what time it is, you already know what I'm talking about. Now, these kind of events, they're going to be happening oftenly to most of you guys who are chosen ones. You're going to be now having to understand people for who they are. You are going to meet a lot of these guys with demonic entities. You're going to meet them along your way. And like I've said, when you awakened, you are now on a very high frequency. And usually, most of the times, any place you go, whether you're in the shop, whether you're in the bus, whether you're on the train, whether you're on the beach, a lot of these entities, they're going to recognize your presence. And a lot of your energy, because you're on a very high frequency, you're vibrating very high, and a lot of your energy is going to start to become very intimidating for a lot of individuals. And it is going to be very visible to you in broad daylight. So all of a sudden, you're going to see people acting out. People are going to start doing some funny things. You may see them doing some funny things with their hands, rolling their eyes, doing something with their mouths. Sometimes you will see that the things you are looking at or the things you are experiencing, not anybody around you can see these things, because you are the only person, like I've said, you are the only person awakened, so you're the only person who can look behind the veil. And again, I promise you guys that I'm going to do a series of videos about the veil, what happens behind the veil, and what happens when you go down the rabbit hole. You guys have got to wait and be patient with me. I've got a lot of content coming up. And again, like I've said, it's always spiritual and narcissism. So I'm going to be mixing a lot of my content, because I don't see a reason why I should start up some different channel when I already have a channel going on. So I'm going to be mixing a lot of my channel with different content. But I'm going to do a video on the series of the veil, behind the veil, and a lot of things what you guys don't know and what you guys cannot see, especially for the ones who are not awakened, but what you guys cannot see and what you should expect when you start going down the rabbit hole, because at that moment you are able to make sense of everything around you, your vicinity, and the people and places you meet or the places you go to, or the people you meet. So that woman all of a sudden vanished, and she was sitting on the opposite direction. Now, of course, automatically I just knew what it was, because first of all, I could read the body language. I could read something with the mouth. Her mouth was like running rapidly, like it's like she was trying to make a sentence, but I wouldn't make out what she was saying. And this thing was in a very quiet way. So she wasn't like speaking, but she was just like her mouth was just bubbling like that all of a sudden. And she was very, very irritated. And I would see on her face she was extremely angry. Extremely angry. Actually, if it was possible, that woman would even sometimes say something to me, but for some reason, she could not speak. Her eyes started running around. Her eyes started rolling up and down like that, rapidly, and automatically I knew this was one of them entities that had always been encountered. Now, like I've said, I always encounter most of these paranormal activities on a daily basis, so I see a lot of these things happening around me, like after the awakening stage. But you see, when you're awakened, you've already shut down your ego, so fear is not a part of you. So whatever it is you see, most of the things coming your way, yes, they're going to look like scary and paranormal things like that. But again, a lot of cases, like I've said, you're the one with the power. You have already taken over your crown, and you are the one with authority. So you can know that most of these demonic entities and these entities and the people you meet along your journey, most of those people, they are intimidated by your light. So your light now starts to shine like 2 times brighter. And again, your energy intimidates people. So by you being in certain places, you could even be sometimes with friends, the people that you used to know. That's why I've said in most of my videos, post-awakening, when you awaken, a lot of individuals are going to leave your vicinity. They are going to disappear from your life, because your energy, on a very much more spiritual level, your energy is on a very different frequency, and your energy intimidates most of those guys, especially I'm talking about those guys who are possessed by different kinds of entities. So your energy becomes a threat. Your energy becomes very intimidating, and your energy becomes very uncomfortable for the people in your circle, for the people you will meet, even sometimes for the people you meet randomly. Even if it's your family or friends, most of those individuals, they are going to notice there's all these things happening behind the scenes that they don't really understand, and most of the times it is all about your energy. It is some of the things you're going to see as an awakened empath. It is some of the things you're going to meet along your journey as a chosen one. So it is going to happen a lot, and like I've said, guys, I've always been gang stalked, and on this particular time now, there is an individual that I've always said that usually at that particular time when I'm in the park or when I'm having a walk, it doesn't matter what time it is. I don't know if you can see this video. Let me see. Oh my God, it's too far. Now, on the other side of the street, there's an individual. I did a video about gang stalking. I think that was last year. And I said that usually when I'm walking around or I'm having it does not matter what time of the day. It does not matter what time of the day I come out. It does not matter what it is. I usually find that particular individual walking around the same vicinity that I am. Now, a lot of you guys chosen ones, like I've said, these are things that are going to start. These are things that I wish I could show you. It's the other side of the street, so you cannot see that. But I already see and I know what it is. So you are going to be gang stalked. You will be in some places. It does not matter where you are. It does not matter what you're doing. You're going to meet particular individuals in those same areas, in those same vicinities. And I can guarantee you guys, on a very much more spiritual level, it's not by coincidence. So most of you guys are going to experience a lot of gang stalking. A lot of these entities, they're going to be running around in the places you are. You may notice it, sometimes you may not notice it, but you're going to notice that actually you're being gang stalked. So like I've said, at this particular moment, as I was making this video, a synchronicity just happened, exactly what I've been talking about before in my videos. That particular individual has been walking the other side of the town, the other side of the streets. So anyhow, we ignore that because I know what is going on and I can't be bothered. So chosen ones, be alert. I'm not saying you should be worried, because the chosen ones, like I've said, you are the ones with the power. A lot of these entities, dark entities, demonic entities, a lot of these people on a very low vibration, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, they're going to be appearing along your journey. And sometimes because they already know who you are on a very much more spiritual level, they know who you are and they know what you're capable of. Most of the cases you're going to see these incidents whereby you're going to be running into them. Now there's nothing to be afraid about. Chosen ones, I can guarantee you there's nothing to be afraid about. You are the ones in charge. The very moment you take charge of your crown and you know who you are and you step into your authenticity, you're going to realize that actually there's nothing called fear. They will come around, they will stalk you, they will do all sorts of things, but you cannot be shaken and you cannot be moved because you already know who you are. The only problem is not knowing who you are, especially in the early days before you awaken. You don't really know who you are. But the very moment you step into authenticity and you finally understand who you are, a lot of these things are not going to shake you. So there's nothing called fear. In the awakened world, there's nothing called fear. For the chosen ones, you can relate with this. You can do whatever you want to do. You can go wherever you want to go. And it doesn't matter what kind of entities you meet along your journey. They cannot actually move you and you cannot be shaken. Because you know you are the chosen one and you're highly protected. Like I've said in my videos, you are highly protected and you're highly guarded. You know what I mean? So you are guarded by the divine. The universe has got your back. So guys, that was my experience I wanted to share with you of the demonic entity I met, the recent experience with the demonic entity I had on my trip out of town. It has always been happening. It's just because sometimes it happens in a flash of a second, sometimes it can take a couple of minutes. But a lot of times the chosen ones, because you are the glitch in the matrix, there's a lot of things that are going to start making sense. You're now going to see that actually for the most part of your life, because you have always been chosen, you have got a mark. You may call it whatever you want to call it. You will call it a mark, you will call it the crown, you call it the light. But a lot of chosen ones, you know what I mean, and you can relate. You have got a mark on you because you are a very special breed and you're a very divine breed. Now, most of the times, that mark on the very spiritual level, on the very much more spiritual level, that mark is identified by low vibrational entities. I'm talking about these entities, especially demonic energies or whatever. So that mark is actually usually identified on a very much more spiritual level. And those people, you may see them as people following you or doing some kind of things or whatever it is, but normally on a very much more spiritual level, behind the scenes, something else is playing out, and those people, they're under influence. And even then, the most even terrifying thing is that some of them and most of them, they do not know exactly what is going on. So for the most of them, like I've said, most of them are just vessels. But there's a very much more spiritual level, a spiritual activity going on behind the scenes. So like I've said, there's always the vessel, and then there's always the vessel, who are the people, and then there's always the entities behind the scenes, playing out behind the scenes, or even sometimes using these people as vessels. Like I've always said, you guys have heard me talking about even narcissists. Most of the cases, I've talked about narcissists being possessed. You know what I mean? So, I don't know if I'm talking to you. If you have awakened and if you're chosen one, if you have had some of those experiences happening along your path, I would like to know in the comment section below. And yesterday, actually, I was watching a video about another chosen one online. I made find the video and I made share it with you guys. But I was watching another video who is aware of this paranormal activity, these incidents and everything. And it was quite a very interesting video, because that chosen one, that particular individual, was talking about the same things I'm talking about today. And actually, this is what has actually propelled me to talk about this today. As much as I said that I was waiting for the right time, at the right time, that video inspired me to make this video today, because I noticed that actually that person, that individual, the chosen one, was actually speaking the same things, talking about the same things that I've gone through, and the same life experiences that I'm going through as well at the moment. So guys, there's nothing to worry about. Chosen ones, stay alert. Don't worry about that. Everything is okay. You're divinely guided. You're divinely protected, and everything is okay. There's nothing to worry about, and there's nothing can shake your foundation. Keep on rising and keep on elevating, and keep on keep on moving forward to become the best version of yourself. Now, guys, I didn't intend to do this video, but like I've said, normally when I get to the nature, I start to get the downloads, I start to get the inspiration, and I start to get the motivation to do one video too. Let me know if anything makes sense. Drop me a comment in the section below, and I'll get back to you guys in my next video. Much love and blessings. Peace.